Hey folks, welcome back to the Mickelson Racing channel. Thanks again for watching. Today we have the trusty, old reliable Blazer in the shop. The Trailblazer SS, my daily driver, my 245,000 mile aluminum engine LS2 that I drive every single day. This is in the shop. It's not been so reliable lately, so we need to get this thing all fixed up and working. We have to get a wheel bearing on each side. They're making a little bit of noise. The driver's side more than the passenger side, but because I'm doing one, I might as well do the other. And so that's what we're gonna do. And then I've also got an AC tensioner and AC belt to do on this thing too, because if you guys remember, we had a terrible squeal in it. And so in order to fix that, it was the tensioner. So let's go put a new tensioner on it, a new belt, and we should be ready to rock and roll and have AC again. And we'll need it soon. It's like 32 degrees out today, so won't be long, we're gonna need AC. Let me run you guys through what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna jack it up, put jack stands under it. Pretty normal stuff. We're gonna pull the wheel and tire, and then pop the axle nut, remove the caliper and the caliper bracket, take the rotor off, and then there should be 3 bolts on the back side to take the hub off, and then you just unplug the ABS and you put the new hub on and done deal. So as long as it's not too rusty or too dirty, because this is definitely not too dirty. As long as it's not too rusty or too dirty, should be able to pop that off in not that much time. I don't know what shape the CV axles are in. Now is a good time to replace them if they are bad, but I don't have any. If we do need them, we're going to be on hold for a few days to get those suckers in. Oh, by the way, axle nut on a Trailblazer of any kind is 36 millimeters, or 1 7/16 inches seems to be a good fit also. So if you need to do that, either one will work. I did not have a 36 mil, but I had a 1 7/16, so that's what we're gonna use. Oh guys, the scope of this project has really started to exceed what I originally planned. I got the wheel bearing off in a hurry. That really didn't take too long. So you guys saw me take the 13 millimeter caliper bolts off, and then the 18 millimeter caliper bracket bolts off. And then we got the 3 18 millimeter bolts in the back of the wheel bearing off, and then boom shakalaka, the whole freaking wheel bearing comes out. Once you get your axle nut off, wherever that went, your axle nut, leave the nut on there, hit it with a hammer a couple times so it moves back and forth within the splines so you get it all loose, and then you can take your wheel bearing out, no problem. Remember to take your backing plate off and use it on the new bearing, so don't forget to do that, otherwise you might have some problems. Otherwise, that went pretty well. Also, don't let your caliper hang by the brake line. Not good for your brake line. So now we move on to the exciting stuff, which is this CV axle. See, look at this thing. It's freaking dunzo. Boot has been torn. All the grease in there is absolutely disgusting. There's been a lot of dust in there. It's not good. Like I feared, we're going to need new bearings for this thing. Luckily, my girlfriend is in town, and by in town, I mean 2 hours away where there's an auto parts store. And so I called her and had her pick up 2 axles, one for the driver's side, one for the passenger side. So there goes another 250 bucks. But needed to be done. These axles are freaking toast. So yeah, glad we're getting these suckers done. In order to change an axle, you got to go ahead and you got to remove the upper spindle nut bolt, which I've got down here. So you got to remove that guy because it rests in this machined cranny right here, so that prevents it from coming loose. And then it just comes out of the control arm, and then you're good to go. And then you just pry this forward, take your outer axle shaft out, and then you can take out your inside. The best way I found to knock the inside loose from the diff is to get a hammer, an extension or a chisel or a punch or something, and then just whack the end of that CV joint just to bust it out of the diff real quick, and then you can pull it out the rest of the way. That was the easiest way I found to do it. So with this all done on the driver's side, we're just waiting for the axles to come back from my girlfriend in town. We're probably 4 hours away, 3 hours away. There she is right now from coming home. In the meantime, I'll get the passenger side all torn down, ready to stab the new one in. And then once she gets back, we'll be able to finish this up in no time flat. Boy, that was fun. Well, we've accomplished something at least. We've got both sides tore apart. Passenger side is done. Driver's side is freaking done. I've got new wheel bearings and stuff like that. It's all right here. So now we just gotta wait for my girlfriend to get back from town with our new CV axles, or half shafts, and then we can pull the ones that are out. They're ready to come out. They're loose. They're ready to go. And we'll slam the new ones in. Bada bing, bada boom. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy, as Mr. Mortsky would say. In the meantime, I think what we'll do is we'll try to do the air conditioning tensioner and belt. So that is way down in the depths of doom, way down in there. I'm gonna see if I can get to it from the bottom. There, guys, I'm here from the bottom, and you can just barely see there's the AC compressor, and there is the tensioner. You can just barely make it out. I think if I take off this bracket, I should have a little bit more room. Let me go ahead and remove that bracket, and we'll get right back with you. Well, I'm not entirely sure what the purpose of that bracket is, but now I've got a little bit better access. So here I can see it on the back side of this subframe, and I can see that there's one bolt on this side and one bolt on the other side, right underneath the transmission cooler lines. Looks like a 15 mil and 2 bolts, and that sucker will come right out. Well, we got the old one out, people of the YouTubes, and that thing is just cooked. The bearing on this is absolutely fried. If you can see in there, it's all sort of kittywampus. It does not spin hardly at all. It's locked up in multiple places. So yeah, junk. Anyway, we got a beautimous Chinesium new pulley to drop in there. I think this thing was like $12. So we're gonna go ahead and drop that sucker in there, and we'll be freaking ready to go. We have our new AC compressor belt tensioner on. It's not in the most convenient place right in there. It's a little tight, but we got her. Not a big deal. Now, I want to try to get the belt on, the AC compressor belt, without having to take off the serpentine belt. So I saw a trick on the internet once, and I'm going to go ahead and try to use it. See if it works. Well, that actually freaking worked. Now we've got a good pulley on a good tensioner, and we can continue on with our day. Last thing we have to do before we get the parts back from my girlfriend is replace the manifold to pipe gasket on the passenger side. Let me show you what we got going on. So here's the exhaust manifold and here's the pipe. I've got the old gasket out of there already. It was leaking pretty good. You can see the soot marks right here on the manifold from where it was leaking. So here's the old gasket. I don't know how old this is. It's quite old and it's pretty blown out. You can see the bad parts in it. And then it came out in two pieces, which is probably not a good sign. This is the new one. It's what it's supposed to look like. So we're going to go ahead and slam this thing in there and then tighten it back up, and our exhaust leak that we've had since we bought the thing should be finally taken care of. It's been getting worse and worse and worse, where now all you can hear is the exhaust leak, and hopefully this will take care of that. So let's go slam this thing in there and we'll be good to go. Bam, we've got one gasket replaced. That was not that bad. Really couldn't complain. Pretty standard procedure. So now we're just gonna wait, get some axles from my girlfriend. Probably soon enough where we can put the summer tires back on. With that said, why don't I get these suckers snow tires with the winter wheels. Let's get these back to the barn. My steel 17-inch spare tire wheels made for Trailblazers. Let's get those back to the barn, and let's go get the 20-inch Trailblazer SS wheels and bring them back up here, and we'll put those on instead. We are back, and so are our brand spanking new CV joint axles. Here we go. So the store that my girlfriend went to had one good brand and one not so good brand. I don't know really the difference, but this is supposedly the not so good brand. Looks a heck of a lot better than the one that we have currently. So all I'm going to do is go grab some wheel bearing grease and then grease up the splines, and then we'll be good. Shoo! One side done. It's really not that bad of a job. There's definitely more work I could have done, like maybe intermediate shaft and the bearing that engages the all-wheel drive, and then you kind of want to pull the oil pan, and then you want to do a new pickup tube, and then you kind of want to do a new oil pump, and it just, you know, where do you stop? So this is kind of where I stopped. I think it's going to help the immediate problems that we had. If we start to have problems with those other things, then I guess we'll take it all apart and do that side. What we're going to do instead is finish up the other side. So since we just did the passenger side and it's all buttoned up, hopefully that took care of all the problems that we were having, we're going to go ahead and jump back here to the driver's side and throw this side back together. We're going to be ready to freaking rock and roll. Also, remember, if you're working, always have a cold one. My cold one of choice, 1919 root beer. Let's get back to the other side. Boom. Driver's side done. We are all freaking done with the Trailblazer. The only thing that we have left to do is an oil change, and then we're going to be done. We're going to get this thing washed up, cleaned up, ready to go for spring. We got the wheels on, summer wheels, the Trailblazer SS 20s. We're good to go. So I'm done for the night. I'm going to go eat some dinner with my girlfriend and just chill out, and then tomorrow we're going to do an oil change, drive this thing out for the spring. Morning, folks. We're all wrapped up with this thing. Let's put the hood down, get it off the jack stands, back it outside, take it for a quick cruise, and make sure she's good to go. Take this thing for a drive and let's see how it acts. First off, I can tell that there's no more exhaust leak, and that is really nice. There was a really bad knocking sound coming from the manifold before, right on the passenger side, that was very loud. That's no longer there. It's a little, the front end's quite a bit tighter, so that's good. The wheel bearings must have done something. No more clunking when I turn sharp. That's a big positive. Big positive right there. The front end does steer much smoother now. Much smoother steering. There we have it, folks. One cleaned up Trailblazer SS, ready for spring. We did wheel bearings on both sides. We did axles on both sides. We did an oil change. We put the summer wheels and tires on it. We did an exhaust manifold to crossover pipe gasket. This thing is looking good, and it's freaking good to go. Oh, don't forget, we also did the air conditioning tensioner and belt. This thing is good to go for another, hopefully, 100,000 miles. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing right here in the corner of this video. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week on the Mickelson Racing Channel.